you feeling froggy? Be like, what's good with my super truckers? You know.
What's going on, super truckers?
Morning, guys.
How's everything today? Of course, they can't answer.
No, they can't. They can comment below. You know, sometimes we get a lot of views, but we don't get a lot of comments. So, like, hey, good, bad, make fun of us, talk about, the pineapple hairdo, whatever you got, man. Let them have it.
It all works. Once again, we're here to just share information. Probably coming to you with a different angle this time. We're just going to talk about what's going on in the dry van market, right? Because that's where our expertise lies, and just kind of share information that may be useful to you and your business.
Yeah, and try to help you to share some of our success stories and some of our failures as we do. We always are transparent. We know the market in certain areas aren't pretty, and man, I really wish there was a video sometimes out there to tell me where to go and where not to go sometimes, to give me a heads up. So kind of just want to do that, how to find success in this week's market. So what I did is pull some information from last week with some of the guys that were successful and how we made that success.
All right, so if you could share with us just kind of how you rolled with the punches, what you had to do to adapt to make sure these guys are making money, and
yeah, because again, one of the hardest things as an owner operator is what I did last week. If I did something last week and it was great, I want to try to repeat that process. And if we can do that for you, we definitely will. But there's a lot of times that we can't, man. The market fluctuates constantly, and to be able to be successful, you got to kind of be quick thinker on your feet and ready to make decisions and changes, and you can't base upon like, hey, I ran that load last week for 2,300, but today it's 2,100.
And that's an interesting topic, because that's what I do in recruiting. I mean, one of the things I ask is everybody to be adaptable. When you join the team here, it's this ability. It goes both ends, right? We got to be adaptable in the dispatch office, and you got to be adaptable as a business owner, as an independent contractor.
Absolutely. So one of the hardest hurdles to come across is maybe a guy who's more that regional style guy that wants to hang out in the southeast region, okay? And we can accommodate, we certainly will, but right now
it's the wintertime, baby. That's what you got a lot of snowbirds coming down to that area, and then it becomes supply and demand.
It's killer right now. Florida, I don't know. Florida got a fever and it got sick and it's not feeling well right now, so it doesn't play well with others. I mean, it used to be the proverbial dollar per mile. Yeah. And, that was what you settled for. I mean, literally there's brokers who normally do pay decent. They're offering 75, 85 cents a mile, 90 cents a mile. And so in that market, you got to get creative. Yeah. Your days used to be, okay, let's deadhead up to southern Georgia. It's going to be, a lot better. It really isn't.
Well, so let's touch that basis, right? Let's say 85 cents a mile leaving Florida. How do you recover?
You got to be strategic with your plan. You've got to think outside the box. You got to do things that you may not normally do, and that could be a 2-day transit. Because here's the problem. Not only is Florida suffering, Georgia suffering, so is South Carolina, North Carolina. So taking that $400 or $500 run to get up to North Carolina you used to bounce back from that. You could grab your $800 to $1,000, maybe even more, move out of there. That's not happening right now. So you've got to do things that you may not have done in the past. I still suggest if there's an opportunity, definitely look in southern Georgia. A lot of times you can move up to southern Georgia and still get more than $1 a mile with your deadhead miles included. So that's always an option. But it may even be a 2-day transit at that point. So you may be starting your Wednesday off at a less than favorable position that you normally would, but now you're in a better place to take advantage of these negative markets. So what I suggest is definitely position yourself to get as far away from the negative markets that you can. Right now, you want to be in the Indiana, the Illinois, the Wisconsin, Iowa's not bad, parts of Nebraska. That Midwest area is where you want to be at. Now, once you're there, you can bounce around, but remember, good to good's not going to pay the best. So what I've seen a lot of our guys do to find some success, to kind of cap that week off, you get out, you move around, and then you're sitting in Missouri, near St. Louis, or like I said, again, Indiana, Wisconsin, any of those places, and then you go to one of these places that's in the negative area, such as, you shoot over to Mass. We had a guy pick up a short run to Mass, $3,000. You know what I mean? Wow. That caps his week. Okay, we'll get out of there. Starting out of Mass is like starting out of Florida. It's not a problem. There's loads. It's not a matter of capacity. There are loads. It's just, find the one that makes it worth it.
But that's the thing. You got to make sure we're putting in the work to find it. So once you find it, all these pieces start to connect. But again, not everything could be good. But the idea is, if there's anything consistent with the formula to find success, is that you remain adaptable. Because the way you made money last week is not
may not
the
be
way,
how you do it today. Yeah.
and if you're lucky, it is. But
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it's broke, be willing to move immediately. Don't. I always tell dispatchers, hey, if the ship's sinking, if the plane's going down, don't be too prideful to go, well, this was my plan. I've got to hold on to it to the last minute. No. Make the decision, cut the plan, go to plan B, go to plan C, go to whichever one's going to make the most sense for you and your driver. Driver's the same thing. If you did something last week and your dispatcher's trying to do something completely different, trust them, okay? Because that original plan may not work out this week.
yeah, and it might be that others picked up on the same thing you did, and now that market that was so good is getting saturated, and it's going to adapt.
Can anyone say Ohio right now? That's a perfect example. Everybody for the last month and a half has been trying to get their trucks to Ohio. The market was definitely picking up there. But the more and more trucks that get in there, the capacity increases on the truck side, and there's more guys now fighting over for those crumbs, which now the Ohio market has started to come down some, and it's not as strong as it was. Memphis was a perfect example of that before. Memphis really started to turn up right there in that Memphis, northeastern Arkansas area, and then boom, it's still an all right area because the capacity is still in the favor of us there for a second, but it's not as strong as it was. So again, guys, remember that I experienced that today. We offered a load to a driver out of a certain area, and he goes, well, I remember. And,
there's one load,
selective
one
memory,
time,
yeah.
Well, getting back to that short-term memory, guys. Remember, every year is the same thing. Around this time, I started getting a lot of the phone calls. Snow hit a little earlier this year in certain areas, but all the snowbirds are coming down, and a lot of guys don't like that snow, and it's sheer supply and demand, and we've talked about that in other videos. But the more trucks you have in that hovering in that southeast region, the loads are the rates are going to go down a little bit. It's just supply and demand.
But again, you can still find success. I mean, you got to get creative. You got to think outside the box. Dry van drivers right now, if they're actively working, they're not missing a day, Monday through Sunday type deal. Again, we always want that restart over the weekend, so sometimes we're a little bit different, but we make it worthwhile. So those guys are still well in the range between 5,000 and 6,000 gross every week.
Yeah.
So it's still absolutely doable. You may have to adjust where you're going. Yes, if you're a guy that says I'm southeast only, that's the end of the story. Then okay, you probably are going to come down. Your gross will probably come down a little bit. But we still accommodate. We still figure it out. We work just as hard for that guy as the guy that goes anywhere. So I suggest wherever you guys are at, really work with your dispatcher closely. We always say this: try to make money where you're at if it's available to you. If you feel like they're not as creative or they're not putting in that effort, give my man a call. See what we can talk about. We're very transparent, so we always say, hey, call us up, talk to us, see what we got to say. We may not be the right fit for you, and if we're not, we'll definitely tell you, hey, we don't think we can help you. But yeah, I've got some guys here, man. I was really proud. I had a new guy start.
What did that look like?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I won't say his name, but his second weekend, he ended his weekend PA last week. So okay. Again, he took advantage of going probably from the Midwest to PA.
Right.
We're going to get some nice money going in. Coming out's going to be a little difficult. He went from PA down to Virginia. Nice little run, 224 on the loaded miles, $800, man. So that put him at 357 loaded on the loaded miles there as far as rate per mile. Then he went out of West Virginia over to Georgia. Georgia's another market that's down, you know what I mean? Again, but we're still sitting here in the southeast. Went from Georgia to Mississippi and from the Mississippi area to Kentucky, and completed his week out at 5,200, man. So he kind of operated in that southeast area still, and that puts him at $2.04 average per mile. You know what I mean?
And then, but that was the secret to it. You just kind of mentioned that, right? He had to take something to get. You have to be in the game to get to the 357.
To get where you're going, yeah.
Like you have to be in there. Not every load is going to be that. So adaptability. So that's a prime example.
And you never know, man. You can really get in some areas and you're like, man, I was there last week. It was the worst. And then you get there and guess what? If you were there last week and it was the worst, and Bob was there last week and it was the worst, and Henry was there and it was like, well, guess what? Most guys aren't going there. So now the less guys that go somewhere, capacity changes in your favor. If there's one truck to 10 loads, it's your choosing.
And while you're on the forefront because you're there, it's changing while you're actively there as opposed to it changed 2 days ago. By the time you get there, so did another 1,000 trucks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had another guy, completely different market area. He kind of did the thing here. He was the guy that took the 3,000. He went from Georgia to Virginia. Obviously, not the greatest $1.75 a mile there. From Virginia to Missouri, $1.67. Okay, everybody's going, oh man, these dry van rates $1.67 a mile. I hear you. I hear you. But now he's sitting in Missouri. Missouri, he picks up and he goes to Mass. He gets $2.18 a mile for 1,377 miles. That's $3,000. The man grosses out $5,500 for his week. Again, our weeks are basically Monday till Friday. On that Friday, you just pick up a load that you still have enough time to do a restart to deliver on Monday, and that's not spread out. That's not stretched out. That is just a simple week. That is how our weeks run, and that is, dude, that's not bad at all.
No, not bad at all.
So, sorry about that. And we'll end it with this guy here. This guy's a beast, steady guy. Again, we're starting all these guys out in the Southeast. So what that tells me is that the week prior, on that weekend, we were somewhere nice. We took advantage to get in. I'm not talking about that previous week, but they did well the previous week also.
Right.
So he ends up in Georgia, heads over to Virginia. Again, $1.82 a mile, nothing pretty. From Virginia to Ohio, he's going from that not so good market to a more decent market. You're going to see the rate come down. So it's $1.59 a mile. From Ohio to Illinois, decent area to not a bad area at all. 217. Now we're right there on the far side of Illinois, near Iowa. We pick up a load and we go to Washington. And in doing that, we ran at $1.93. So the guy has 6,150 gross, and he ran for an average of $1.88 a mile. I mean, I don't care who you are, how you twist it.
That's good money.
Yeah.
And so remember, guys, that's what we're talking about is adaptability. Come up with that game plan, put effort into it, put some energy on that, and once you do that, the money's there for the taking.
Again, and for this to work, guys, it takes two. Okay,
Yep.
This is not a one-sided owner-operator doing all that he is and his dispatcher not doing what they're supposed to do. This takes the effort of the dispatcher, the company that supports him, and it takes the effort of the owner-operator to trust that process and put in his effort. And when you do that, you'll find success. This was just 3 that I just pulled off. There was plenty to choose from. So the guys that are out there putting in the effort, the dispatchers are backing that effort, the company supports them, they're making money in this dry van market. Again, watch yourself in the Southeast, get yourself as far away as you can, and then take advantage of that negative market by coming on in at a good rate, and you'll find success with whoever you're working with.
And if you like what you hear, hit us up on the comments, let us know anything else we could talk about, and at the same time, if you're thinking of jumping ship, hey, give us a call. You never know, we might be able to work something out. Other than that, my people, drive safe.
And keep on trucking.